keep seeing people on TikTok talking about things they've experienced during their formative years that have permanently altered their brain chemistry. For me, that thing was a short-lived and somewhat obscure online service I stumbled across while playing with the new game console I'd gotten for Christmas in 2009. In 2008, video game giant Nintendo unveiled the Nintendo DSi, the latest iteration of the extremely popular Nintendo DS line of handheld consoles. It was released in November of that year in Japan and April 2009 everywhere else. This new and improved console had a variety of new features, including dual cameras, an SD card slot, and increased internet functionality. I actually still have my DSi. I had the hot pink one. Most notably, it introduced the Nintendo DSi shop, where you could purchase and download various games and apps. One of these apps that was available as a free download was Flipnote Studio, or Ugoku Memocho, Moving Notepad, in Japanese. It even came pre-installed on later versions of the console, including the version that I had. The app allowed you to create short, frame-by-frame flipbook-style animations primarily using the touchscreen. Features it included were surprisingly sophisticated for what it was. It featured a pen, eraser, and paintbrush tool, all of which were highly customizable. Your animation could have up to 999 frames, and you could select a playback speed of between 0.5 and 30 FPS. You could also record up to a minute of sound to accompany your animation, and insert photos from the DSi camera album, except they usually ended up looking like this. Additional features such as layering, shrinking, enlarging, selecting, moving, copying, pasting, and onion skin were available. You also had the ability to share your Flipnote creations with friends through local wireless. The app came pre-loaded with a few demo Flipnotes that showed what the software was capable of, the most memorable of which being this one. A true classic. Flipnote Studio came to be thanks to Nintendo developers Yoshiaki Koizumi and Hideaki Shimizu, who worked on it as a side project without the knowledge of anyone else at Nintendo. They originally intended it to be a note-taking tool, hence the Japanese name Moving Notepad, but it evolved to have the ability to create flipbook-style animations. Eventually, they brought their project to the rest of the team, who decided it would work well for the DSi. They wanted there to be a way for users to share their Flipnote creations with the world. Then CEO of Nintendo, the late Satoru Iwata, suggested partnering with Hatena, a Japanese internet services company, and thus, Flipnote Hatena was born. Flipnote Hatena was an online service that allowed users to upload and share their Flipnote creations, as well as view and download the creations of others. By 2010, it had over 1 million registered users. It could be accessed through the Flipnote Studio app on the DSi, and it also had a website. Anyone could view Flipnotes, but in order to post and leave comments, you needed to have a Hatena account. From what I recall, the sign-up process was weirdly convoluted. If you were under 13, you needed to have a parent print off and sign a permission slip and mail it into Nintendo, which of course my parents refused to do, so I wasn't able to start posting on Hatena until my 13th birthday. I don't even think you could lie about your age because it was based on the birth date you put into your DS when you first set it up, which was kind of annoying at the time, but good on them for being that dedicated to protecting children's safety, I guess. When browsing Flipnote Hatena, you could either view the All Flipnotes page, which by default showed Flipnotes in order of popularity, or you could go into the different themed channels, such as musical or comedy. Something that I don't really see mentioned anywhere, but that I remember being a thing, is that you could create your own channel once you got your Hatena citizenship, which, if I recall correctly, you got by consistently uploading Flipnotes for a certain number of days, I think maybe 30 days. The popularity of a Flipnote was determined not through likes or views, but through stars. Hatena had sort of a weird system for showing your appreciation of a Flipnote. You could add unlimited numbers of gold stars to any Flipnote you wanted, including your own if you felt so inclined. There were also color stars, green, blue, red, and purple, that were rarer and could only be obtained in specific ways, such as through purchasing loot boxes, earning your citizenship, reporting inappropriate Flipnotes, or having a Flipnote featured in the weekly news. The total number of stars that had been added to your Flipnotes, as well as the color stars in your possession, were displayed on your creator page. You also had the ability to download Flipnotes, edit them, and re-upload them as a spin-off, so long as the original creator hadn't locked the Flipnote. This whole system was definitely unique, but it did create a few problems. First of all, the star system led to a practice known colloquially as star begging, where people would upload low-effort Flipnotes, often an unedited spin-off that said something like "add stars if you hate Justin Bieber," in order to get their Flipnote to the front page. As you can imagine, this practice was looked down upon by the majority of the Flipnote community. You'll also recall that I mentioned that color stars, particularly green stars, could be earned by reporting a Flipnote. This led to an epidemic of false reporters who would go around reporting Flipnotes that did not contain inappropriate content just so they could get a green star. This would frequently happen to Flipnotes that got very popular. I can imagine it must have been incredibly disheartening to put time and effort into a Flipnote and watch it rise to the top of the most popular list only for it to be removed from the platform without warning for no reason. Now I want to talk a bit about the culture of the platform and the type of content that was posted. There were a few types of Flipnotes that were common. Stick figure fight animations were a phenomenon on the internet more widely at the time, and for obvious reasons, they were popular on Hatena as well. They were usually set to either a Linkin Park song or a Bass Hunter song, and honestly, some of them were really impressive. There were also animated music videos, or AMVs. These often featured the creators or other creators' OCs, and were usually set to a top 40 song or, again, a Bass Hunter song. The absolute grip that man had on the internet in the late 2000s. Next, there were animated comedy skits that used audio clips from popular YouTube videos or TV shows. ASDF movies and SpongeBob are probably two of the biggest sources for these types of Flipnotes. Then there were the Japanese imports. These were Flipnotes that were taken from the Japanese Flipnote Hatena website and re-uploaded onto the international one. These were usually AMVs set to Vocaloid songs and were some of the most technically impressive animations on the platform. Seriously, it's insane what some of these people were able to create on a Nintendo DS. However, not everyone used the app for its intended purpose of creating animations. It's interesting how some people were more interested in using Hatena more like a social network than an art-sharing platform. Question memes were an extremely popular type of Flipnote. These were sort of like the game 20 Questions, where creators would write a question on each page of their Flipnote and people could download it, fill it out, and upload it as a spin-off. These were my personal favorite types of Flipnotes because, one thing about me, I love to fill out a questionnaire. There were also series, which were stories that were either drawn with still images like a comic, or sometimes text only. Lastly, there were chat rooms. These Flipnotes existed solely for people to chat in the comments like it was MSN. Looking back, it was probably a little sus to have chat rooms on a site mainly used by children, but I don't remember anything particularly untoward happening. There are probably other types of Flipnotes that I'm forgetting, but these were the major ones that were sticking out in my mind. The culture of Hatena was definitely reflective of late 2000s, early 2010s internet culture as a whole. Random, XD, rar means I love you and dinosaur type humor was prevalent, and popular internet memes like the awesome face, shoop da whoop, Ouija, Dr. Octagonopus, and rage comics were everywhere. There were a lot of sparkle dogs, wolves, and warrior cats, Sonic OCs, anime characters, and Justin Bieber hate. Like, weirdly a lot of Justin Bieber hate. Like any other social platform, there were creators who got really popular and became household names in the community. People like Gizmo, Boss, Island Girl, Fred, Kiki Flipnote, Shiny Eevee, Epic Guitar, and, Chris Chan. Yeah, Chris Chan was on Hatena. All that being said, the Flipnote Hatena community felt different from other internet communities at the time. It seemed to mainly attract people who were interested in art and video games, understandably, and despite there being literally 1 million users, it actually felt really close-knit. The user base also skewed younger, and the platform seemed to be well-moderated, making it pretty child and teen-friendly. I don't remember coming across any disturbing content, which I certainly can't say for any other website I was using at the time. I think it's really great that myself and thousands of other kids got to experience a community like this. However, as the saying goes, nothing gold can stay. The Nintendo 3DS was announced in March 2010 for a March 2011 release, and from then on, the Nintendo DSi's days were numbered. Fans worried what this would mean for their beloved Flipnote Hatena. Luckily, it was revealed that the 3DS would feature a new app, Flipnote Studio 3D. That meant their precious Hatena would be safe, right? Well, not exactly. Nintendo eventually announced that Flipnote Hatena would be shut down on May 31st, 2013. You were able to download your Flipnotes from the service using an app called Nintendo DSi Library, but that was that. The end of an era. But there would be 2 new Flipnote sharing services included with Flipnote Studio 3D. The beginning of a new era, perhaps? Let's get into that. Flipnote Studio 3D launched in Japan on July 24th, 2013. It contained a slew of new and improved features, including 3 layers to facilitate the creation of stereoscopic 3D animations, shape, paint, bucket, and text tools, and a 6-color palette. It launched alongside the 2 new online services, Flipnote Gallery Friends and Flipnote Gallery World. Friends allowed you to share Flipnotes with people on your 3DS friends list. This service didn't last very long, however, as it was pulled only 3 months later due to safety concerns. Apparently adults had been using a similar Nintendo service called Swapnote to send inappropriate content to minors. Yikes. Like Hatena, Flipnote Gallery World was where you could upload and view others' Flipnotes. Nintendo were on their own this time, though, without the help of Hatena, the internet services company, and they certainly made some choices when deciding how to run their service. Unlike Flipnote Hatena, World was not free. In order to access the service, you had to purchase a 30-day pass, except it was free to access between the hours of 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. for some reason. These passes came with a limited number of coins which must be used to perform actions like posting or adding stars to a Flipnote. Also, apparently if your Flipnote didn't receive any coins within 30 days of being posted, it would straight up be removed from the site, which I find kind of hilarious. Like, your Flipnotes are so bad, Nintendo doesn't even want them on their website. They're like, come on bro, just take the L. It's a good thing they didn't do that on Hatena, or most of my Flipnotes would be gone forever. Anyways, clearly a successor to Flipnote Hatena, this was not. Oh, and did I mention that the release of Flipnote Studio 3D outside Japan was delayed for almost 2 years? Yeah. It was initially intended to be released in August of 2013, but was pushed back due to unexpectedly high usage of the online services in Japan. It seemed that perhaps Nintendo had bitten off more than they could chew trying to create a service like this without the help of a more experienced company like Hatena. International fans became frustrated with Nintendo's lack of communication on the matter during these 2 years. Eventually, Flipnote Studio 3D was made available to international users via Club Nintendo on February 10, 2015, albeit without the online services. Eventually, Flipnote Gallery World 2 was shut down on April 2, 2018. The original Flipnote Studio app can no longer even be downloaded since the Nintendo DSi shop closed down on March 31, 2017, and Flipnote Studio 3D will soon be getting the same treatment when the 3DS eShop closes in March of this year. So is that it? Is this where the Flipnote story ends? Not quite. The fan community was not willing to let Flipnote die such an unceremonious death. They quickly got to work creating their own online services for sharing Flipnotes. Kairu Gallery launched in 2017 as a replacement for Flipnote Gallery World, although it requires you to install custom firmware on your 3DS, so it's not as accessible for casual users. Another community-developed service called Pseudomemo was launched in 2014 as a faithful recreation of Flipnote Hatena. This one can be accessed by simply making a few changes to the DSi's internet connection settings and using the Flipnote Hatena button on the Flipnote Studio home screen. From what I can tell, the community is still pretty active to this day, and the content has the same vibes as the original Hatena. I mean, if you told me this was made in 2010, I would believe you, but it was made like a month ago. But wait, it gets even better. After the successful launch of Pseudomemo, the team behind it got to work on an even bigger project. Finally, on May 31st, 2022, the Flipnote Archive was released, a full collection of almost every Flipnote ever uploaded to Hatena. I cannot stress enough how incredible this project is. It contains a whopping 12 terabytes of Flipnotes. Ever wish that you could watch that favorite flip of yours from back in the day just one more time? Well, now you can. I was particularly elated when I saw that this was in the works because I actually lost access to all my old Flipnotes a number of years ago when I misplaced the SD card that they were all saved to. Being the nostalgic bitch that I am, the thought that I would never get to see those Flipnotes again was pretty devastating. But, sure enough, on launch day I went on the Flipnote archive website and there they all were. I think I literally shed a tear. So I thought it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane with y'all and take a look at some of my old Flipnotes together. Hello. So I did film this yesterday when I filmed the rest of the video, but the screen recording got fucked up somehow. So we're trying this again. Hence why I am wearing different clothes this time. Okay, so this is my Flipnote archive creator page. Yes, my username was Hitalia Love. It was 2010. Don't judge me. So I guess this is how many stars that I had. 36.1k. Not bad. Not bad. I have over 200 Flipnotes. 178 views. I don't know if that's just views on the archive or like views on my Flipnotes on Hatena. And I only really used the service for a little over a year, and I don't even think I started posting until like September of 2010 because that's when I turned 13. So it feels, in my memory, it feels a lot longer, but it was a relatively short time. One type of Flipnote that was fairly popular on Hatena that I don't think I mentioned earlier was like edit me's. So people would have like a drawing template, and then you could go in and edit it. So I know that I did a lot of those. When I was in grade 8, I had a huge crush on this guy, and as you can see, I was very normal about it. Drew a lot of pictures of us together. Definitely has the same vibes as that one scene from Turning Red. Any Flipnote that has this like little purple symbol in the corner means that it was a spin-off. But what a lot of people would do is they would make a spin-off of a Flipnote just to use the audio that was in it, but like all the drawing and animation would be original. So I think that's what I did here. Let's take a look.
Nothing working! Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen! We have technology! It didn't work.
So yeah, I think that was like 2 of my OCs or whatever, using the classic SpongeBob audio. The angst, the drama. Okay, so this is a Flipnote that I'm pretty sure is an entirely original creation. I did all the drawings, the sound design, the concept. Let's take a look at my 13-year-old creative genius.
Huh? Oh my god, what's that? It's hideous! Pikachu, I choose you! Pika? Pikachu, use Thunderbolt! Pikachu! Ah! Great job, Pikachu! We destroyed the hideous beast!
Yeah, so like I said earlier, a lot of Justin Bieber hate on this platform. I definitely joined in on that, and then ironically, like a year later, I would become a Justin Bieber stan. So yeah. But I mean, I think considering I had no idea what I was doing, like the animation on this, not bad. I'm kind of impressed. Yeah, so I just think it's kind of fun to look back on these and sort of remember, you know, what my frame of mind was at that time and like see how far I've come, especially in terms of my art skills. So yeah, if you ever posted any Flipnotes on Hatena, I would highly recommend going on the archive and taking a look at them. You might be surprised at what you find. And thank you for coming on this journey with me. Even though large corporations don't seem to care much about preserving internet history, whether it's the shutdown of Flash in 2021 or the loss of every song ever uploaded to MySpace in 2018, it's great that the users of these services have gone to great lengths to save that which was lost. If you want to support the preservation of a piece of internet history with a donation, the link to the Flipnote Archive's Ko-Fi page will be in the description below. All funds will go towards updating and maintaining the archive. Overall, Flipnote Hatena was so influential for me because it was one of my first experiences with an online community and connecting with people who had similar interests as me. I didn't have too many offline friends who were into things like anime, manga, drawing, and video games, so it was great to be able to bond with people over these things and show me that I wasn't weird for liking them. It spurred on my interest in art, something that I'm now pursuing as a career, and taught me the foundations of animation and digital drawing. I discovered music and anime series that ended up becoming some of my favorites. Also, being a 13-year-old and going through puberty is kind of rough, so it was nice to have an escape at the end of a hard day. My time spent on Hatena are some of my fondest memories during a time when I was really starting to struggle with my mental health. I'm so glad the experience is being kept alive and brought to new generations of users through the work of dedicated fans. Some people are hopeful that Nintendo will bring back a version of Flipnote Studio for the Switch, but given that they like to pretend that anything they made more than 5 years ago doesn't exist, I wouldn't hold my breath. Regardless, I'm grateful I got to experience it. Thanks so much for watching, and feel free to share your Flipnote memories in the comments. If you want more content about Flipnote Hatena, I recommend checking out Seed Butter's Flipnote Iceberg video, which will be linked in the description. If you enjoyed this video, liking and subscribing would be very much appreciated. I'll catch y'all in the next one.